Hello. Hi, Ellen. Have you been with me before? I'd like to know that. Sorry if you have and you've met me before. I just don't always remember. And then whoever else is here, I'll take a couple of minutes for people to get here. So, hi, Shannon. Nice to have you. And that's what I want to say. Life is interesting, ladies, and I'll tell you, you need yoga to manage the stress of life. That's what I believe. Really, truly. Oh, great. So Ellen, if there's anything you'd like to tell me in particular in terms of, do you have osteoporosis and what are your issues or struggles? Like, do you have anything going on in your body, replacement parts, issues, diagnoses other than osteo? I'd love to know that because it can help me inform you throughout the class. And then, yeah, just really good information for me to have. All right. Great, Susan. So good to have you here. And yes, to be with everyone is great. All right. So let me begin. But anyway, back to what I was saying about yoga and how, yoga is mostly for the mind. And yes, it is for the body to preserve our body, to keep us functional and mobile. Because for us, for me, for Debbie to live her life, I have to live my life through my body. But it's really not me, right? There's so much more to me than what you see. And so we have to be strong for that. So then let's talk about life and how life throws you curveballs and you have to deal with stuff and things and OMG. So all of that is what I'm talking about because I just feel stress, notice stress, I'm experiencing more people complaining about things. So definitely a lot of stuff going on and we need to learn how to manage our stress. And when we're talking about bone health, psychological stress is related to bone health. So whenever you've got stuff going on in your mind and things you're processing, that's going to affect your whole body, including your bones. So Stevie, good morning. Osteoporosis, great. Some knee issues. All right, knee issues, I'm assuming, meaning aches and pains in the knees, like creaky stairs kind of things, maybe, because you just said knee issues. You didn't tell me diagnoses or anything. The knees are the number one weight-bearing joint in the body. They're also the largest joint in the body. And so how many ever years we've lived in this package we're here in this lifetime with, our skin suit, how many ever years we've lived and whatever that life has been, whether we've played a lot of sports, whether we have dysfunction in our body or injuries, that's going to determine the health of the joints. And that's also going to translate into our bone health. Because when we have limitations in our movement patterns and we either stop moving or stop moving in certain ways, that's going to stop the force on the bones in different angles that we need to keep them strong and dense. So I think that's one of the things that happens with aging, right? Like after you get over your 40s or something, that's when you start to experience aches and pains. It's kind of crazy how it just happens, but it does. Meniscus issues. All right, perfect. Great, as long as you know that. I just read a study. I'm very interactive with an orthopedic surgeon on Twitter. I've never met him, but I ask him a lot of questions and I comment on his posts. And he would just put up an article about meniscus tears and how the recent research is showing that it may be better to not actually repair a tear because your body actually is repairing things for you, right? Bone spurs, scar tissue. The body comes in to lay down harder surfaces to take care of issues. Sorry. And actually, what does it use to make scar tissue and bone spurs? Minerals. And where are the minerals? In your bones. And when the minerals leave your bones, what happens? You get less bone density, right? So it's this whole cycle. But anyway, and it's true that we should allow our body to repair itself. We go in with surgery, we try to repair things. And that's what happened to me. when they tried to repair the tear in my hip joint, they took off bone and my hip joint collapsed, and then I needed a hip replacement 19 months later. So anyway, sometimes it's better to learn how to strengthen, lengthen, and utilize parts of our body to protect ourselves that we have control over. So our muscles, the flexibility, the mobility, the range of motion, the joints, and that's what you're going to learn here. So without further adu, Mary. Wow, so there's a lot of you ladies that have never practiced with me in person, which is great for me. Oops. Interesting for me. And then of course there's a lot of ladies here that I have been practicing with me for years, like Stevie, maybe 6+ years Stevie has been with me. She was taking 3 live classes a week, and I would say Stevie was, or is Stevie, right? The strongest, most limber person in all of my classes, or one of for sure. And it really is the dedication she put into her daily practice, or the 3 days I saw her, but her lifestyle was a very active lifestyle, and therefore she had a lot of activity and motion in her body because of that. So it is possible. I've witnessed it for years and years and years in all the work that I've done, and I've noticed it in my own body as I put myself back together. All right, one more thing. I saw that someone else made a comment, and I can't see from far away, just wanted to. Yes, good, Ellen, totally. All right. So let's begin today's practice. For those of you that are new to me, I teach in 8-week sections, and this is the last week of my 8-week section. So all next week I'm off. I do have recorded videos on YouTube that you could follow along. And then the next week I'm here. I show up 5 classes a week. So I teach 5 classes a week to guide you safely. Every class is different. There's a different intention or focus, because I know that in order to be happy, healthy, mobile, to live a full active life, we have to take care of what we're living in, our body, our joints, our muscles, our bones, and everything. And I will show up 5 classes a week to guide you safely in all aspects of healthy aging. And then if you have bone density issues, on keeping your bones strong and all of the components that are necessary to keep bones strong. So with that said, for today's practice, the focus is always on stimulating the bones, which means stressing them out. So we're going to create bone stress that's appropriate. And we're going to work on maintaining healthy joints, mobility in the joints, and here we go. All right, so for today's practice, you will need a block, you will need a strap. If you don't have these exact yoga looking items, because these are props for the practice of yoga, you could get something that looks like it, a rolled up towel, a belt from your closet, a blanket, or a towel will be necessary for the practice as well. So go ahead and grab that, and then bring yourself here to begin. We're going to begin in a seated position to allow ourselves to arrive. If your knees will still bend, bend them. And if you're close to being able to bend them a lot, work towards keeping that range of motion, or maybe even gaining a little bit more. What you want to be careful of is the tension over the kneecap. That's the end of the quadricep muscles attaching to the bones. So if you feel a strong, strong pull, I would unbend your knees a little by maybe bolstering yourself on something, a pillow, a block, or whatever. If you're feeling the stretch here, that's the belly of the muscle. That's more about tightness in the muscles. That's a little bit safer to, I don't want to say push the envelope, but go to your edge a little bit more here. So you want to be careful with tendons and connective tissue pulling versus muscle pulling. And so that's what you're going to notice there. And then for a lot, the top of the feet become really tight. And bones don't break because they're brittle. They break because we fall. 95% of all hip fractures are from falling. So having this part of your body mobile and the range of motion really good, important for bone health. and fall prevention and lots of other things, okay? So whatever you need to do, do it. And if that is not okay for you, then come into a crisscross leg position or a soles together position, so that you come into a upright spinal position for your energy to flow, for your lungs to move, and for us to get started. So go ahead and whatever you choose, choose it. Close your eyes and then adjust appropriately. When you take away the visual, you can go into the place of feeling and noticing. And in this place, I want you to notice, go to the areas that you may notice or feel those sensations. This is also a place to notice the energy of your body, the energy of your mind. And just get a sense of where you are. You could feel your heart come into your chest and feel that beautiful heart that has been beating for you since day one and will continue for many more years to come. Couple more breaths. Noticing the mind energy. What are the thoughts right now? And are you able to go into your heart and feel the beating? Bring your hands together. Rub your hands together. Cover your eyes. And then gently allow your eyes to blink themselves open. And then put your hands down. So whatever seated position you're in, let's do a little warm up before we come down onto the ground. Warming up the muscles of the upper body, because we're going to do a little postural correction to begin today's practice, bringing space and mobility into your joints right away. Inhale up and exhale over. If you have shoulders that don't like to lift up high, if you have issues in your tissues in your shoulders, try this, putting your fingers on your shoulders, letting your elbows lead the way. And then try to reach your arms a little farther away from your body and let the arm that goes on the ground, let the elbow bend. And then one more. For those of you with low back issues, this movement here, side to side, which is lateral flexion, actually creates space and stretches the back muscles, which can take some tension out. Take your arms down alongside your body. Inhale to reach up, let your throat open, let your gaze go up, and then exhale slowly. Only the head is moving. Let the chin come down towards the chest, let the arms come all the way down, palms face upward. Inhale. You're reaching long in your arms. You're not just throwing them up. You're extending them, getting more space in that shoulder joint. Feel tissue stretch. So feel the stretch. Open up your palms, stretch your fingers, and let your neck spine, your cervical spine move when you do this. Come back to center. Let's inhale, open. Keep your arms pretty low here. Make sure your shoulders don't rise up. Inhale, shoulder blades glide along the back of the body, sliding towards each other, towards the spine. And then here. When you do this, the hands are open. Keep the elbows down pretty low. And feel a stretch, feel something happening where the arms attach to the body. Warming up some of those muscles that are in the chest and the shoulders that are responsible for this way that the spine is being held in your body throughout your day. And spinal alignment and joint alignment is another aspect to bone health. When we're off alignment, we contribute to bone density loss, pulling the minerals out of the bones to protect our joints. Bring yourself back to center. Take your fingers on the front of your shoulders, your thumbs on the back. Reach your arms long. Make sure your neck stays long and you don't lift your shoulders up, okay? Thumbs are in back, fingers are in front. Inhale. Exhale, your chin goes down towards your chest, your elbows come towards each other. You inhale to rise up, open your throat. Feel the low ribs pulling away from the pelvis. Maybe you feel a stretch in your abdominal area. Moving more of your spine now. Inhale up. Let your elbows go back. Shoulder blades around the spine. Gliding along the rib cage. Chin to chest. Go slow. Close your eyes if you can. Feel a lot of stretching here. So you're not just throwing your arms around. You're going to the biggest range of motion you can to feel stretch. One more. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take our blanket. We're going to come down onto the ground. We're going to do a supported spinal extension or a supported back bend. And with osteoporosis, half of the fractures are in the spine, and it's the head forward rounded spine position that contributes to the pressure in the front of the bones that causes them to fracture. So we're going to do something to do a supported back bend, stretching the muscles in the spine and the muscles in the shoulder joint. And yeah, something that I'd like to teach you, and then hopefully you do this often, maybe daily. Let's take your blanket and roll your blanket up lengthwise. So not this way. I'm not doing it in the shortest way. I'm doing it in the longest way because I want my entire spine and my head and neck to be supported. And then if you have a blanket or a towel that's short and you won't be able to lie on it with your entire body, you could use something else for the top. You could get another blanket or a pillow to go up at the top. So you're going to have this nice tube here, or maybe you even folded yours in, fold it in small fold, whatever you did. You're going to put your tushy on the floor. So the tushy's on the floor. You have your prop here starting at your low back. And then you're going to bring yourself onto your side. You're going to reach your hand away. So if you have osteoporosis, we want to make sure we don't round our spine. So coming down to the ground this way is a safe way to move with awareness in your spine. And then bring yourself onto that prop and find your way into it. Keep your knees bent, your feet are flat. When you push your feet into the floor, you could lift your pelvis off the floor and then place your pelvis back down. Your spine is supported by whatever it is you have behind you. And then reach up and lengthen the back of your neck. You may need to use your hands here to get this nice position in your head. And then for some of you, you may need to fold the blanket up at the top of the head or use a pillow there. And then bring the arms out to the side. The arms are out to the side. The palms are up towards the sky. Keep your knees bent. Walk your feet a little bit wider than your body and allow your knees to fall in towards each other. Keep your mouth closed and begin to breathe in and out through your nose. So let the backs of the hands rest on the floor. Let the entire arms rest on the floor. Your eyes are closed. Your mouth is closed. You're breathing in through your nose. And then go to the places you notice a sensation. And if you don't have a sensation, you may need a bigger fold in your blanket. And then if you need to make more of a sensation, taking the arms wider from the body may help, or raising the arms up may help. So explore the arm position that will create a stretch sensation in your body. And the palms are up towards the sky. The backs of the hands are on the floor. Don't let the backs of the hands float in the air. They're on the ground. And You may need to move them away from your body and down in order to get them on the ground. Bring your awareness to your spine, starting at your head. Press the head down, let it be heavy. Press the rib cage down or let go of any holding you're noticing. Allow the lower back to soften and let the pelvis be heavy. And then bring your awareness up to your nose. Mouth is closed. Breathing in through the nose. It's important to breathe through our nose for many reasons. A few are because it slows down. It goes from one big opening to two smaller openings. So it's a more slower process of bringing oxygen into the body. There's also a filtration process by the immune system as things get trapped by the little hairs in your nostrils and your immune system starts to respond. And then there's a warming aspect, and there's some secretions of ways to relax the muscles of the throat and of the lungs to allow for better flow of oxygen into your body. And oxygen is our vital resource that helps the cells create the energy to complete all the processes in our body. So feel the breath coming in your nostrils. See if you could feel the coolness of the temperature of the breath coming in your nostrils. Then follow your next breath in the nostrils, down the throat, into your lungs. And feel your lungs expand. There are 6 ranges of motion in the lungs. Let's use the breath to warm up muscles of respiration and our spine as the ribs expand and contract and they're attached to the spine. So for these first few breaths, breathe in and forward up towards the sky. Feel the whole front part of your chest rise up. From the top near the clavicle bones all the way down to your belly, feel the top part of your chest reaching up towards the sky. Now moving towards the back. Breathe in through the nose and back towards your spine. So feel the lungs pressing backwards. Feel pressure on your spine near your blanket or whatever you're lying up against, resting on, using for support. The next few breaths, you're going to widen your lungs. So both sides are going to get wider. Feel yourself widening with each breath. See if you could feel all the way up underneath the armpit area. Expand as you breathe to the sides of your lungs. Then for these next few breaths, bring the breath in the lungs and straight up towards the head, all the way up to the upper lobes of the lungs. then to your lower ribs. The next few breaths, breathing down to your belly. Feel your belly expand. Feel the lower ribs stretch. For the last few breaths, your entire lungs, top or front, back, side to side, and top to bottom. So bring in the most expansive breaths you can, warming up the area of posture and alignment in the spine, in the upper body. And then finish your last breath. Let's explore taking the legs straight. So one at a time, be in your body to make sure it's appropriate for you. And then take the arms overhead if that's appropriate for you. Flex the wrists so the fingers move to the sides and the palms of the hands reach directly to the wall behind you. Flex your feet, soles of the feet reach away from you, and the soles or the palms reach away from you as well. So the soles of the feet and the palms of the hands reach. Stretch yourself like you're on a stretcher. See if you could feel the pulling of the lower ribs away from the pelvis, stretching the abdominal area, muscles that rotate your trunk, muscles that help to stabilize your trunk and your upper body. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and begin to bend your knees one at a time and then roll to your side all the way off your prop. Now we're going to get up safely because if you have osteoporosis, getting up and getting down, the way we move has a lot to do with the pressures we place on our spine. And we also want to keep our upper body strong because it's really important to have upper body strength, and it's something that we don't always focus on or don't do as often throughout our day. So here's an opportunity to do that. You're going to fold your arm that you're resting your head on, bend your knees closer to your body or closer to your head, and then open up your hand that's on the floor. Spread the fingers, keep them right around armpit or chest area, a little bit away from your body, not super close. Press the hand into the floor like crazy. And look at your hand as you push your hand into the floor. Let that action be what lifts you up and away from the floor, strengthening the muscles of the upper body. And then bring yourself off of or out of that position. Let's go ahead and take your blanket, fold your blanket, and then bring your knees onto your blanket, your hands onto the mat. Now, the wrist is one of the areas that is the most often fractured. And so maintaining health in your wrist is important, whether that's the flexibility in the joint, range of motion in the joint, and the strength in the joint. So coming onto all fours, make it be what is appropriate for you. If you're new or if your wrists don't like to be weighted on and you don't do it often, roll up the front edge of your blanket or your mat or a blanket or a towel and minimize the flexion in your wrist joint. So whatever you do, find something that you can do. And then bring your awareness to your tailbone. Your tailbone, your sacrum and your tailbone are in your pelvis. We're going to lead from here, these two lower spinal bones. We're going to imagine we have a Sharpie marker here on our tailbone. We're going to draw a line straight up and down the wall behind you so that it's only the lower back and the tailbone area that move. So you don't bend your upper spine. You allow flexion and extension to come into the lower back, and you move the pelvis posterior and anterior tilt. More play in your joints means more dance ability, more opportunity for them to move and to dance safely, so they don't pull on the bones and cause stress fractures. And then go ahead and bring yourself up. Take your wrists, shake your wrists. So we'll do our first posture that was taught by Dr. Fishman in his second series of Yoga for Osteoporosis. We're going to do the first one, which is to stretch the wrist. So it's not necessarily a yoga posture. It is a way to increase that dance ability or that range of motion in the joints. So you could either be up here doing this, or you could flip your toes under and sit on your heels to get your feet nice and open. Not for everyone, I know. If it's for you, please try that. Backs of the hands are together, thumbs are down. Keep your shoulders out of your ears, nice long neck. Take the left hand over the right and bring the palms together. Lower the shoulders. Bring the hands down, through, and up to the place where you feel tension from the rotational force in the wrist. To make this more intense, you could separate the elbows or move the arms away from the body. So wherever you are in that left arm, you're feeling pulling on the wrist or tension in the wrist. Of course, go to whatever is the appropriate place for you. And then take one more breath. Let's bring yourself out of that. Let's take the other hand. So the backs of the hands are facing each other. The thumbs are down. You bring right wrist over left. Clasp the hands, lower the shoulders, and slowly guide the hands through and up so that you feel tension down in the right wrist. Whatever's appropriate tension for you. If the feet are talking to you or screaming at you, you can unbend them and sit on the flat feet or bring yourself up onto your shins. So finding what you can do instead of avoiding the whole entire thing, going into whatever range of motion is appropriate for you. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out of that. Take your hands, shake your hands. Let's come into a supported back bend. This is camel posture. So I'd like you to take your hands on the back of your body. So right where the top edge of your pelvis is, take the heels of the hands at the top edge of your pelvis, fingers are down, and then your legs are about hip distance. Let your tailbone move down towards the ground. So there's a posterior tilt in the pelvis. You may feel a stretch here in the front of the hips. Let the tailbone go down. Let the elbows come towards each other. This is camel posture. Let's reach the heart up, open the throat, and make sure you don't go to a place where you let your head go back too far and your voice would change. When your voice changes, there's too much strain in the throat. Slide the elbows towards each other. Lift the heart up. Feel a stretch, maybe in the chest, maybe in the front of the shoulders, and in the front near the heart. Push your heart forward. Let your tailbone go down. For those of you that want to go down into the full version of camel, you could come down lower if that's available for you in your body. Otherwise, staying up. Take one more breath. And then slowly bring yourself out. The postures that we practice in yoga when we're focusing on osteoporosis, we're focusing on specific areas. Posture is a huge part of spinal fractures, and it's also an aspect of keeping minerals in the bones, and it's also a part of fall prevention. Because if you're forward all the time, it's easier to go forward, right? All right, so we're going to come into the plank posture. This is another posture that is great for many aspects of our body and our bones.
You could come into the full version of the plank. You could come into the modification of the plank, or if the wrists are really unhappy, go down into the dolphin plank. Whatever you're going to choose, I'm going to do this for 1 minute today. And at the 30-second mark, I'll let you know. So if you'd like to come down at 30 seconds, that's an appropriate amount of stress in the bones to create stimulation. And then we're just going to go a little extra for those that want to. All right. So bring your hands onto the mat. Let's take one foot back and then the other, bringing yourself into the strongest plank position you could find. So bring your awareness down to your heels. Push through your heels so your body weight is in your feet and in your hands. And then press the left foot into the floor. Make sure the pinky toe and all the other toes are touching. And then press the right foot into the floor. Make sure the pinky toe and all the other toes are touching. Feel that stretch in your feet, stretch in your calves. Bring your awareness to your belly as you press your belly up towards your low back to protect the low back. If you want to come down now, that's 30 seconds for those that want to come down. And then bring your awareness to your left hand. Push your left fingers, all 5 of them, into the floor strongly. And the whole finger, fingertips, fingers, palms. Bring your awareness over to the right hand, same thing. You really press your hand into the ground. Now push away from the floor with the hands. Push away with the feet. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out of your plank. Take your hands, shake your wrists. And then while we're here, we're going to go down onto our belly and do our locust posture. And we have the blanket here, so this is nice for the hip bones to support the hip bones on the ground. So let's take our hands wide, very wide and forward and wide. You're going to bring yourself forward, keeping your back flat. Open your throat, look forward as you bend your elbows slowly. Go slow. Slower is harder. And if you need to plop at the end, okay. And then bring yourself back so your pelvis is on your blanket. Your arms are underneath your shoulders. This is Sphinx posture. Stretch your belly here. See if you feel a little belly stretch here. And then walk your feet together so the big toes touch. Press your toes into the floor, all 10 of them. Toenails are touching. And then inhale, lengthen your spine as you bring yourself all the way down to the floor. Let the forehead touch the floor, the nose touch the floor. Bring your arms alongside your body. Thumbs are touching your body, or you bring your hands up and clasp. Only clasp if you could lift your hands away from your body. So if it's hard for you to lift your arms away from your body, keep them alongside your body with your thumbs touching your body. Not one is better than the other, but one of them is better for you, and that's the one you need to do. All right, let's prepare. Take an exhale. And then inhale, lift yourself up. Your feet come off the floor, your head comes off the floor, your arms come off the floor. So the only part of you that's touching is the middle part of you. And then you reach long from your toes, roll the legs in the socket so that the inner thighs are reaching up towards the sky. The arms are reaching away from you. You're reaching up away from the ground. Putting compressive force in your spine bones, strengthening the spine. Bone stimulation for your spine. For those of you that have osteoporosis in your spine, lift higher if you can, safely. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself down. Take your hands one on top of the other. Spread your legs wide and let your forehead rest on the back of your hands. Wiggle your pelvis back and forth. And then take your legs, bend your legs. Let's wiggle the legs back and forth, side to side. Release tension in the low back. And then go ahead and let your legs come down. Bring your arm and roll onto the side of the arm that's up. Bend your knees. Another opportunity to push yourself away from the floor safely. Take your hand in front of you. open your palm, look at your palm. You're gonna really push like crazy into the floor and be away from your body. Closer to your body is more challenging. Away from your body, you have better angles in your joints to move from. Push yourself up, 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 leading with the shoulder, not the head, bringing yourself up. All right, let's come into a twisty twisty. So we just compress the spine with the camel posture and with the locust posture. Now we're gonna do a twist that's gonna rotate the spine and put more force in the spine with rotation, which is the best way to strengthen the spine, as long as you stay lengthened and you have great posture when you do it. And what was the other thing I was going to say about that? Stimulation for, also the hip, because this one that we're going to do actually also stimulates hip bone growth. All right, so you're going to take your blanket and fold your blanket so that the blanket supports one buttock. The blanket is going to support one buttock. So I'll speak about which tushy cheek I'm supporting, and maybe that'll be the same way you'll do it. Will look different though. So I have my left tushy on the blanket, and then I'm going to take my left leg and bend my left leg so my left heel goes underneath my right tushy cheek. So my right buttock is on my left heel, and the blanket is underneath left buttock. So that's where that support comes. And then the right leg goes up and over. We're going to be rotating over the front leg. So that's the right leg for me. You're going to take the block on the side that you're rotating over. Now the block is to push down to lengthen your spine. It's not to be behind you for you to lean on. You want length in your spine, create space between each vertebra and each disc. And then when you have that length, you're going to rotate and pull on the bones in the spine from many different angles. So let's take the foot on the ground. Use your arm here to get nice and tall. Take an inhale, and then as you exhale, rotate your lower ribs, then the middle ribs, then the upper ribs around. Let the head rotate. Take deep breaths down to your belly. So create space in your spine. Feel that you're lengthening each vertebra and each disc between, which is like a jelly donut. Lengthen your spine, create space, let your jelly donuts not be compressed here. Reach your heart forward, lower your shoulders, slide the shoulder blades towards each other. See if you get a little more rotation. Push down on that block and rotate. And then breathe down to your belly. One more breath. And then you're going to bring yourself slowly, slowly, slowly out of that. Let's go to the other side. So the blanket now goes on, for me, the right tushy cheek. And then about knees. Sorry, I didn't say this on the other side. For those that cannot bend the knee fully flexed like that, you could take the leg across, let it be straight, and then take this leg across. Not as much stimulation in that hip joint, but something. Find something where you feel something happening in your hip of the leg that's going across, and you'll also feel it in your spine when you add that rotational force. So arrange yourself so you have support under one buttock and a foot under the other. And then bring the block on the floor behind you. Use this arm to get as tall as you can in your spine. Nice and tall, inhale. As you exhale, lower ribs, middle ribs, and upper ribs. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Breathe down to your belly. Constantly working to find proper spinal alignment and then adding that rotational force. Lower the shoulders, slide the shoulder blades towards each other. Get nice and tall. Inhale, and as you exhale, deepen that stretch if you can. Always be inside your body to see where you feel the stretch and to notice what is the safe range of motion for you.
Take one more breath. With the length in your spine, you're going to slowly, slowly unwind. Bring your blanket onto the mat. Let's bring yourself here. So we're going to come to a standing position and do some of the standing postures. And I'm actually going to move through a down dog plank flow. And I'd like to say something about that because I often have people say, oh, wait, I thought we weren't supposed to do this, or I thought we weren't supposed to do that. So what we're not supposed to do is round our spine, right? That's the main thing there, is really rounding the spine is the main thing. That's why forward folding, if you forward fold, if it happens here at your hips, so let's practice that, please. Forward folding at the hip joint is safe because my spine is not bending. And forward folding with bending your spine is what contributes to spinal fractures. So your hips, right here where your legs attach, take your fingers, put your fingers in your hip joint so that as you bend, your spine stays in its neutral curves and it's your hip joint that bends. Learning how to bend the hip joint safely also protects the knees because often we use the knees more than we should and we don't use the hips as often as we should. So engaging the hip joint flexion to be part of what assists in our movement patterns. Learning how to bend right here at the hip, really important for bone health. Okay, so for those that are new or you know that you're not quite strong enough, that maybe that plank posture was a little too intense for you, if you want to come up without going through something else that's a little bit strong, you could at this point bring a leg forward and lift yourself up to a standing position and come up. Or you could join me in a little down dog flow, being very cognizant that this is where you're going to bend your body and not in your spine. Keeping your head forward, take your hands wide and forward. Take your legs a little bit wider. You don't have to do everything that we're doing. You have to do everything that's appropriate for you. Bone building stimulation happens throughout everything that we're doing, or most things that we're doing. And so do the appropriate level for yourself, please. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, keep your head forward, bend your hip joint. So your hip joint bends, you can keep your knees bent here. So the spine is still nice and long. And the feet are wide and the hands are wide and the head is forward. You're going to inhale to come into your plank. Exhale to go back into your down dog. It's the hips that bend, not the spine. Inhale. And exhale. One more, head is forward. Don't look down towards your feet. Because if you round your head, that's going to round the next part of your spine, which is what we don't want to do. Stay here. See if you could press one foot at a time towards the floor, stretching the calf area. Very important part of our body for balance. Push both feet towards the floor, especially the edges of the heels. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bend your knees. Bend your knees. Walk your hands back. Keep your head up. Keep your spine nice and long. Head up, spine nice and long. One hand and the other. Let yourself calibrate here. Push your feet into the floor. Spine is nice and long. Awareness in the spine. And then you're going to slowly unbend your hips and unbend your knees and unbend you. All right. So when you bend down to get your stuff, back stays flat. You bend your hips and your knees to get your items, to move them off. And then I'd like you to grab a wall or grab a chair. I always love to say that. Grab a wall, like as if you could just take the wall and, okay, wall, here. Because it would be great if we could. If I knew that you all had a wall next to you, I'd love to do a wall practice, but I can't be guaranteed when I'm on YouTube and I can't see you to see whether everybody has a wall or not. And I wouldn't want to leave one person out, no matter how many people were with me that had a wall. So we are going to take a chair if you need it. For if you have a pretty strong practice, you might not need a chair for a lot of this.
And then if you need a wall or a chair, please make sure you do that. So take your body wide, and then it's the hips. So take your hands on your hip bones, kind of emulating the walking, the gait here. So I want you to notice that your hips go up when you do this. This is helping to warm up the hip joint, where we bend a lot in the practice to create that stimulation in the pelvis and the hip. So one hand rises, the other hand rises. One hand rises, the other hand rises. My head and my upper torso are staying stationary. This is a pelvic movement, and this is hip joints. And then the muscles that mobilize the pelvis. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take the feet one at a time. Flip the toes under and see if you could stretch the top of your foot. Maybe you need to hold on to a chair. Maybe you need to put your foot back farther. Maybe you need to bend your knee. Whatever you need to do to get access to stretch the top of your foot, and then do the same thing on the other side. So remember, there's always something you can do. It's not about not doing this movement or posture. It's how can I make it fit my body? You're not going to try to fit it. You want it to fit you. These are postures. We're trying to find what will our joints allow us to do in this shape. How can I get me into this shape? So even with this, and then it's going to bring up a lot for you. Oh my gosh, my feet are so tight. I can't do that like you did it. I can't bend it like that. Yeah, not yet. Stay with me and you will. All right, flip your foot onto the side, the pinky toe edge. And then you can move your leg. So I'm on the pinky toe edge, and I move my foot a little bit here. And then do the same thing on the other side, exploring what your range of motion is and where you have your tightness. Then you're going to take your feet and you're going to bend one at a time, bending all 5 toes. So you lift your heel off, you're on top of all 5 toes. Not quite a ballerina. We're not on toe point. We're on toe tip point. It's like a prancing pony. And then I'd like you, maybe you need to hold on to your chair, maybe not. Can you lift both heels up off the floor? Make sure your pinky toes are a part of this, not just big toe and second toe. Lift up. Use the calf muscles. Very important for heart health. Very important for balance. Very important for varicose veins. We don't want those. So cardiovascular health, yeah, definitely. All right. Let's do our first posture, which is a posture of alignment. This is the Tadasana mountain posture. Bring your feet to be hip distance, which is really the hip joints here. It's not here. Your hip is in the front right here. The femur bones come in at an angle. So your hip joint's right here in front of your body. So let yourself be in hip distance. Take your hands down alongside your body. Reach your hands strongly down and keep them to the side of the body. They're not forward. You don't want that rounding in your body. So keep your hands down alongside your body and then grab the floor with your feet. Feel your toes be active, all parts of them, all of them, all parts and all of them. And hands are down. Then push away from the floor to get nice and tall. See, you didn't really lose 3 inches since your teenage years. It's a postural issue more than it is a whatever other issue people think they get 3 inches shorter from. And then lift your heart forward. Bring your awareness to your spine. You have 26 vertebrae. I want you to think of 26 porcelain teacups, beautiful teacups. Teacup, saucer, teacup, saucer, teacup, saucer, teacup, saucer. And arrange them from the tailbone, sacrum, 5 lumbar, lower back vertebra, 12 that are attached to your ribs, thoracic spine, 7 that make up your beautiful neck, be a giraffe. And feel this alignment in your body. Hands are alongside your body. Reach your hands down so there's a heaviness to your hands. Then bring your awareness to your lower belly and zipper from the very bottom of your body. Zipper, 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 zipper up above your belly button.
few deep breaths here. The crown of your head, imagine there's a string lifting you up. Take one more breath. Now, don't just come out of this. I want you to notice what happens to your belly, what happens to your knees, your ankles, your shoulders, and your head as you slowly go to relaxation. Notice all the parts of you that shrivel back to center. Notice what happens to your hands when you let go of the tension. And then can you bring yourself right back into that Tadasana mountain posture? Turning the palms forward, reaching the hands down, pushing the feet into the floor, stacking your teacups, zippering up your midsection, and then lifting the center of the crown of the head. Feel it and find it every day. Take one more breath. Bring yourself down and out. Keep your feet where they are. Take your hands. Let's take our hands. Maybe you need your chair. So whatever leg is near the chair, wherever your chair is, you're going to push your body weight onto the foot that's near your chair if you need a chair. You're going to come onto the tippy toes of the opposite. Bring the knee out to the side and bring the foot up in between the ankle and the knee. Make sure it's not on the inner knee joint. And higher is not better. For those of you that want to come up here or put the foot in front, doesn't have any more force than being down here does. And it actually puts you out of that center midline alignment. Unless you have a super, super strong yoga practice and you're a very strong practitioner, which not very many that I've worked with have been at that level, and myself included. So push your foot into your leg, push away from the floor, stack your teacups, zipper up your belly, lengthen your spine. If you want to bring your hands away from your body, if that's appropriate for you, look straight ahead at something that does not move. Grab the floor with your foot. Take one more breath. And then bring your hands down, bring your knee forward, bring yourself out. Shake the leg you were standing on. If you need the chair for support, bring the chair with you to the other side. And then bring your feet into that nice alignment position. Come into your Tadasana, your mountain posture. Stack your teacups, zipper up your midsection, find length in your body. And then hands on the waist. Bring your weight over to the opposite leg. Come onto your tippy toes. Knee to the side and bring your foot up into your lower leg. So find that alignment, feel that. You could take your hands out to the side, look straight ahead at something that doesn't move or to the center of the movement, like the eye of the storm. And embrace any movement that exists in your foot and your ankle. There should be movement. Right? This should not be a static position. There's movement, just like there's movement in trees. And that's why this is called tree posture. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out. Shake your legs, shake your legs. All right. So a chair for this, for some of you, a block for others. We're going to come into, I'm going to guide you there, so don't come in yet. Triangle posture, depending on what your level of need is, all right? So any of these will do. So depending on what your level is, get a chair or a block, then come into a very wide stance. And the wider the stance, the more stimulation in the hip joint in areas you're not used to creating stimulation, the more potential to gain
bone density, strength, and improve the quality of your bones in your hip, the wider your legs are. So find what's appropriate for you. Toes are forward. Bring your awareness to the front foot. Lift the toes up and turn the toes underneath the chair. Then pick up the back heel, move the back heel away from you. Feet press into the floor, legs are straight. Bring your shoulders forward, up, back, and down, and then reach your hands down and long. The bend happens right where the leg attaches to the body. So as you start to reach away from you, let that bend happen in the hip joint. So you're still nice and long in your torso, and you're bending until you can't bend any longer because you're going to feel that strong pull behind your legs. And then when you can't go any farther, you bring yourself into your triangle posture, either on the top of the chair, on the seat of the chair, or lower for those that have that ability to go deeper in the hip flexion. And then breathe. Push your pinky toe edges into the floor of your feet and lift your arches off. So actively bringing this position from the floor up through your body. And smile. Take one more breath. Inhale and bring yourself back up. Legs are straight. Let's go to the other side. Whatever is appropriate for you. Take your legs long, wide. Bring your toes up underneath the chair and your back heel up. Make that solid foundation with your feet and feel how you lift and you bring that energy up into your body. Shoulders are forward, they're up, they're back, and they're down. And then you lift your arms up. Reach away, bending at that front hip joint. Bend, bend, bend. And then coming down onto whatever prop is appropriate for you. Active here. Push your feet into the floor. So whatever you're resting on, don't let all your weight go there. Touch it and push away to lift your torso nice and long. And bend more at that hip if you can. And then open your chest, adding a little rotational force in the spine. So we get pelvic stimulation here, hip joint stimulation here, and spinal stimulation here. Take one more breath. You're going to take your feet, push your feet into the floor, and in your next inhalation with a long spine, you're going to bring yourself up to standing. Let's do our last one today in a standing position called the twisted triangle posture. So you're going to bring your foot forward. You could have your block there for those that are going to use a block. Toes are pointing forward, about 2.5 feet apart. Lift your chest as you bend at your hip joint. Keep your legs straight. Bending at your hip, reach forward and diagonally across you to bring your arm forward. The front leg is the one you rotate over. So turn your spine in the direction of that front leg. That's a twisted triangle. For those of you that could go down lower, you could bring your hand down onto a block. Push your feet into the floor. Make sure that you keep that back heel on the floor. As you rotate, 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 if you want to take your arms off, you can. Nice long spine and then rotation. Hip joint and spine are really getting stimulated here. This is the strongest posture in the practice. Take one more breath. And then pushing your feet into the floor, bend that front knee to take the tension out as you bring yourself up, and we'll change. So it's one of the strongest postures. I think Vasisthasana side plank is also pretty strong. Different intention. This gets a lot of body parts the twisted triangle. And then there's also different variations. So if you do it without a chair or do it with a chair in a different location, it can be a little bit more intense. There's many ways. You can also do this with the wall where you have more force in the upper part of this posture. So this one has a lot of variation in it. Push your feet down into the floor, 2.5 feet distance, flexing at the hip joint to bring your hand forward across your body. Hand is on the waist, and then push into the floor to get long in your spine, and then rotate your spine forward. We're coming down onto the block if that's something, maybe this chair position, not as good for coming down into the block. Keep finding that spiraling in your body with that straight spine, opening up that shoulder, arm out to the side if that's appropriate for you. Push both feet into the floor to bring length and then rotation. Take one more breath. You're going to bring your awareness to the front knee as you bend that front knee to bring yourself up and out. So we're going to come down onto the floor to do another posture before we go into our Shavasana. So get your blankets and your strap. Blanket goes to the top of the mat. Have your strap beside you. And then we're going to come down to finish another posture before we go to Shavasana. Remember, when you come down onto the ground, the arm goes away from you. You bring yourself down. So let's do a leg stretch to make sure we put everything back where it belongs in case we twisted or pulled in a standing position. So take your strap, draw your right knee in, and take your strap on your foot, right near the arch, and then a little bit, about 1/2 inch towards the toes, holding onto the right side of the strap in the right hand and left in the left. Wrap your hands around, pull the strap down to firmly root that leg in the socket. And then if you'd like to lengthen the left leg, if that's appropriate, you could try that, see if that works for you. Push left leg into the floor, pull right leg down, activate that right leg here. So push the right leg away and then strongly pull the right leg towards the wall behind you. No bend in the knee. For osteoporosis, you need a straight leg here to pull on the tendons that attach to the pelvis. So we're trying to really pull on the pelvic area here by keeping that leg straight and being on the end of the muscles instead of the center of the muscle. Draw the leg back towards the wall behind you. Actively fire up the muscles of that right leg as you push it away and you pull it at the same time. Create as much tension as you can comfortably. Take one more breath. And then to come out, you could bend that right knee, bend the left. Let's take the strap off. Draw the left leg in, take the strap and place the strap on your sole. And this matters because in order to keep good functionality in your body, you don't want to just put the foot, I mean, you can in many other times, but for what we're doing today, for working on functional movement patterns in the body to keep you really functionally sound, I'd like us to be a little slower today and do it this way. And then, other times you could go from one foot to the other, but it's really nice to go slow because you might notice some things along the way. Strap is on the left foot, about 1 inch off center. And then you pull down that leg, straighten the right leg, if that's appropriate for you, or keep the knee bent, push the right leg into the floor, firm up the muscles of the left leg. Push the left leg away from you. Keep that knee straight and then guide the leg towards the wall behind you. Deep breaths here. So create as much stimulation as you can as you pull on your pelvis, right where your leg's attached to your body. So feel 30 seconds of the intensity that's appropriate for you. Take one more breath. And then go ahead, bend that leg. Take the strap off. Draw the knees into your chest. So we're going to come into the last posture of the day, which is Shavasana. So the Shavasana posture is the last posture. It is the posture to allow everything that just happened in our body to integrate into our body. So you're going to come into a fully supine position, reaching your legs away. You could place your heels on the floor and lengthen your body into this and let your arms go down alongside your body. Blanket is supporting your head. This is a posture of peace and relaxation. So if you'd like to focus on your breath or repeat the words peace, 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 stay here in this moment. Don't leave. Don't go to the future. Don't go to the past. Stay here with your body and with your breath.
Gently begin to deepen your breath. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rolling your ankles, your wrists. Then gently bending the knees, drawing the knees into the chest. Rocking side to side. And rocking all the way onto your right side, or whichever side is easier for you. Open up the hand, pressing, leading with the shoulder. Bring yourself up to a seated position. We'll close our practice with sound. The sound Om is a blending of the Ah, O, the vowels A, O, or U, and as sound travels through your mouth from an open mouth position to a closed mouth position. We bring that breath from the lower lobes of the lungs all the way up and out. So let's take your hands, rub them together. Thumbs touch the sternum bone. Find that alignment in your spine, stacking your 26 teacups and saucers. And let's prepare, take an exhale, and then an inhale all the way down to the lower belly. Bowing in gratitude for this amazing practice and all the wisdom in this practice to help us balance our internal body, our mind, to strengthen our muscles, our bones, our ligaments, our tendons, to keep ourselves strong, happy, and healthy so we can live the life we want to live. Namaste. Thank you. All right. I would love to hear from some of you how you're doing. I know I had some, if I think about when I teach live, or even if I work with people in groups, I know that some of these things are a little more challenging for some of you. Some of the plank flow, and the wrist joint, weight bearing on the wrist. So it's important that you modify according to your needs, and you don't think, oh no, this is something I can't do. That's what I don't want to happen. So anyone want to let me know how they're feeling? And then in the meantime, remember, I will not be here next week. I'm off next week. I take 1 week off every 8 weeks to do whatever I need to do and to rest. So anyway, I won't be here next week. I will, though, start up the following week. And then if you want to register for my classes that are on Zoom, where I'll see you and be able to interact with you, that's through Torrance Memorial Medical Center. Those you'll have to go on my website, debbierobinson.com, to get the link and the phone number. And yeah, and then I'm here every Thursday, except for, of course, next week when I'm off. Hi, Kathy. Yes, wake up those joints and keep them dancing, right? Nice to have you, Kathy. You're welcome, Mary. Yeah, it's okay. Wait, Mary, but it's Kathy, right? I think I'm right with that one. Yeah, because you know what? It's a use it or lose it proposition. And if you don't use it, you will lose it. And it's not fun to be in that position. And so for the rest of our lives, we need to work every day on strengthening our muscles, our bones, and everything else in our bodies. Taller. I love that, Susan. Feeling taller. Yeah, well, we are. People say that they lose 3 inches. The discs do degenerate, but the discs are really small, and the level of degeneration is not enough to add up to 3 inches. Where the 3 inches comes from is here I am, and there I go. When I turn into Mrs. Magoo, if there ever was a Mrs. Magoo. You know that guy, Mr. Magoo, that little old guy driving and going like this. Yes, Ellen, that's a great idea. And then there's many other ways to study with me. I have these live classes. I also have a lifestyle osteoporosis course that I'm offering 4 times a year. And in there, you get a lot of videos to take home and workbooks and nutritional information for all the aspects of bone density, and stress management and everything as well. So that, and then if you really want to transform your health and you want to run functional labs to find out what's going on with your digestion and your hormones and your minerals, then I work privately with people on deeper programming to transform bone health. So there are options. Visit my website, DebbieRobinson.com. Oops, can't even spell my own name. To find more information on all that. Great, Stevie. Thank you, Shannon. All right, I'm off. Thank you so much for joining me, and welcome the new girls. And I look forward to seeing you on some other capacity or in the next class. All right. Oh, Venmo name is Debbie Robinson at Debbie Robinson, I think. There's a picture of me in a red dress in front of the Taj Mahal when I went to India, my first trip. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you later. All right. Bye.